Welcome to Driven By Dreamz, where we learn about how successful entrepreneurs fulfill their dreams and how you can too. Today's guest is Cheryl Goodman, the CEO of FindGood.tech and a trailblazer in the world of applied AI and deep tech. With a background leading global communications at Sony and business development at Qualcomm, Cheryl now helps companies become truly AI fluent through hands-on workshops and strategic roadmaps. She's also a former broadcast journalist, Forbes contributor, and lifelong tech optimist, passionate about helping businesses move faster with the power of exponential technologies. Get ready to explore how Cheryl is helping leaders unlock the real potential of AI. Hi, Cheryl. It's great to connect with you today. I'm looking forward to learning more about your journey.
Yeah, likewise. Thanks for inviting me.
Well, could you share a bit about yourself?
Sure. It's my favorite topic. No, I'm just teasing. It's not really. You know what I usually tell people? The first thing I tell them is a little known fact that I am a twin, an identical twin. And my dad is a twin and my mom is a twin.
Oh, wow.
And and this was really before everyone had multiple sets of twins because of fertility drugs. This is kind of all natural. Uh, so twins are, one in a million in the sense that we're identical, and that's far more rare. And so I think being a twin is actually really part of what my entrepreneurial journey has been. If that sounds a little odd, because I know you love to talk about entrepreneurship, but being a twin, when you're raised and you're like, oh, you have to dress alike and you have the same classes, in some ways you kind of want to break out and do something different. And so, but at the same time, my twin and I think a lot alike, so I leverage her second brain, which entrepreneurs also need, is access to as much resources as possible. So that's me personally. Professionally, I've been in business for um, well, gosh, it just keeps getting more years keep adding on. But my first real job was in news as a broadcast journalist, but not like a typical broadcast journalist. I started websites, built websites for CBS and ABC, and this is back in a time when they're like, nah, no one's really going to watch TV on a computer. Don't be silly. We only watch them on TVs. And they were wrong. They were very wrong, of course. And then I went on to mp3.com, which was digital music, 10 years at Qualcomm, and then more recently, an executive position at Sony Global. And so now I am running a company called FindGood.tech, and FindGood.tech does workforce training, but I also do AI audits, and I work with software developers in leading teams, actually great teams like BitKai that do wonderful, good services to help people understand, whatever it is from data strategies to implementing AI and so forth. And so, yeah, that's what I do. And I'm actually on tour right now for the book, How to Win Friends and Influence Robots. It's an updated version that has come out. And I'm really talking now about global AI and things that a lot of folks may not, it's not reticent. Like, what is the business model of AI? Not for the consumer, data, but what is the business model for AI, such as open AI? Well, they basically are metering out tokens. Anyway, I'll just keep going on and on and on. So I'll take a breath and then I'll let you ask a question so it's more of a conversation rather than me just barfing at you.
Well, you mentioned that you wanted to be an entrepreneur for a while. So, what inspired that transition at that certain point of time?
Yeah, it's such a good question. I do think partially you're born with it in the sense that, if you're a baby and you keep pulling toys away from everyone else and you walk away, maybe you're one of those people that are just like, I got to do my own thing. I can't be contained. Um, but many times we're trained to say, oh no, you got to just get a good job and you want them to cover your insurance. And there's all these practical reasons not to start your own business. But I really, um, I think that in order to be a good entrepreneur, you do have to learn from people that have been there before, as that's just time efficiency. So you have to spend time with people that have created companies. And, all companies at some point were small companies, right? So you have to spend time there. But I think the most formative part for me was to spend time building mp3.com and Lindos.com, which is a Linux company. And I shouldn't say building. I was an early employee of Lindos, but I was actually, working under the CEO who was a serial entrepreneur, multiple exits to Google, a guy named Michael Robertson, very smart, can look around corners, really, really be a great person to train under in terms of understanding what it means to be an entrepreneur and what it doesn't mean. It doesn't mean just promotion. It doesn't mean raising money just for on a great idea. It means I have a product that people want and that I can sell at a profit, and I can do this at scale. I can repeat this over and over again, and you get excited about refining how that financial journey goes. And not that I think it makes, it's not all about the money. It is about being able to make your own decisions, and being able to have failure, but also, I think it takes a special person, because you got to be able to pick yourself back up again. And a lot of people, when they have failure, they kind of want to be caught by their company or maybe caught by their spouse. They don't want to stand alone, because it is hard to stand alone, especially if you're a twin. You're like, wait a second, I'm, used to having a womb mate, or, always having someone beside me. But anyway, another crazy response to a very practical question. I hope I answered it okay.
No, you did. Thank you. So what was it like your first few failures when you started your business? What was it like standing alone, or did you have a co-founder when you started?
Yeah, no, I was alone. So I just left Qualcomm. It was 2013. This was my first real adventure called Social Global Mobile LLC. And at that time, it was really a lot of innovation around app and app economy. And I had really learned some pretty clever insights, having been at Qualcomm and really understanding. And I was able to really take some of those insights and patterns and bring it to publishers and event producers and really businesses. It's no different than the world right now with AI. There's a lot of small to medium business that are trying to figure out how to AIify their companies so they can get to revenue quicker. And this was the same thing in 2013, except it was the app economy. And it actually had been going for some time. I mean, the smartphone came out, the true smartphone, Apple, 2007. But I had been working on Android phones for a long time, and their app economy wasn't as robust. Maybe it was as robust, but it wasn't as user-friendly. And as you know, if it's not easy for people, then they're not really going to give you their money. So I think the hallmark of all entrepreneur pursuits, whether it's building apps or building websites or building a glass of lemonade on the street of your corner, you've got to make it easy, right? And that's one thing I think I've had a super skill. I'm not good at a lot of stuff, but I am very good at making things easy and simplifying them. And what I like to say, democratizing them. And having the ability to speak to a person that has little experience or tremendous experience. And I think that's an art form, and to make it understandable and compelling for all. And that's hard to do because people are at different levels. But that's what I've been able to do, and I do that not only through technology and software, but really in go-to-market plans and to consumers to get them to understand, that this is something that they would need to speak to them in a way that they want to emotionally respond. And, of course, ultimately the most important, have value. That they get something that actually solves a problem, not ridiculousness, not, real problems are being solved. So.
How do you go about doing that when talking to someone? How do you judge their level of understanding and find out what you need to talk to them about to persuade them?
Yeah, that's such a good question. Wow.
Yeah.
I think there's like classical, typical things that folks will do, they'll say, well, what are the personas? What are the, when I think about my product, who are the potential people that I envision? And even with my own company now, FindGood.tech. So as a AI workforce trainer, I do a lot of keynotes to businesses, groups that from everything from construction to clean tech to I've gone, overseas to the Uzbekistan government, every radical slice of, the consumer pie, right? So this is like really speaking to these diverse audience. I have to really, we take it back to its most base layer. What problem are they trying to solve? And I'd say that right now, artificial intelligence as a topic is so hot, but the very different levels of how people think about it, it's actually pretty different. If you're an intern or you're a new graduate, you're thinking, where's my job? Oh my gosh, did I get disrupted? Am I going to have a job? Because everyone says, oh, it's the new intern. It's like a smart intern. What a terrible thing if you're trying to get an internship. If you're a government, you're thinking about, many things, safety first, policy. And if you're a construction firm, you're thinking, wow, it's never going to bother me because we swing a lot of hammers. Well, that's not true. There are drones, 3D drones in swarms that are building homes in absence of manual labor. So I really have to think about the individual emotional part of that. And everyone has some emotion about technology and being disrupted by technology. And so getting back to the base layer is, what do you think about this? Are you a type of person that says, AI is fantastic, it's going to solve all of our problems? Or are you that person, are you that doom scroller who's like, oh my gosh, the world's going to end? And if you can emotionally connect with what you think their perspective is, the likelihood that they'll listen and understand will help you at least get to the next level where you can then start the discovery process to say, are my assumptions right? Are you afraid? Or are you like crazy, obsessed with AI? Or, to kind of get to what problem they're trying to solve. So we start with, how can I help you? And it's actually a giving economy. I think it's when we think about the most memorable experiences with people, whether that's in kindergarten or in middle school or high school, is when someone gives you something, or someone helps you solve a problem. And then you create an emotional bond. And then from there, there's trust. And business only moves at the speed of trust. If you don't trust someone, it slows down. That goes for all relationships. So a bit of a meandering answer there. I hope I answered it okay.
You did. Thank you for that advice. For the people who believe that AI will bring doom, how do you convince them that it can actually do a lot of good?
Yeah, that's a great question. And so right now I'm on this tour called the Hope AI Tour. And the Hope AI Tour is really a response to the overwhelming number of people that are actually quite concerned. And so according to Pew Research, 88% are overwhelmed and are worried. And this report came out last month. And you can dig into it to see exactly, what that is. But 88%, that's a lot of people, that is especially, now this is a U.S. study, but I also looked at globally, and there are entire countries, especially, believe it or not, Dubai has a very high level of anxiety, and I would have never thought that. But the bottom line is that the doom comes from any time we feel we'll be replaced. And we're a purpose-driven, humanity we're purpose-driven. We always want to work on something, whether it is improving ourselves, piano, or athletics, or building a home, whatever it is, or building a tool, a software tool, whatever it is. We want to have purpose. We don't just lay around. And on top of that purpose, we're pack animals too. We're like tribe, and we want to be liked, and we want community. Well, that's what work gives us. It gives us purpose, and it gives us community. And a community, a definition of community, is any group that wants to grow together. Not just hang out and be destructive. That's called a gang. But community is a group, right? And so when you hear that AI could displace your job, you're displacing not only your tribe, your community, but your purpose. And the headlines, especially this last week, big headlines coming from CEOs who basically are now officially saying, do not hire anyone unless you have proven that AI cannot do that job. And furthermore, we really do believe that there's going to be a fundamental wiping out of those jobs. And so when individuals read those headlines or they see it in their social media feed, if you're like me, when I see negative news or news that is concerning, I automatically say, how does that impact me? And then I think, well, that job that I've done so well as a writer, maybe it's not so important anymore. Oh, and that means that I may have problems paying my mortgage. Oh, which means I'm probably going to be homeless. So in 2 seconds, we go from a headline to homelessness. I'm being dramatic, but I think a lot of people think in these ways. We think someone's about to steal my job, and that gets to us at such a deep core level. The reality is it's not the case at all. And so the Hope Tour is really, hope stands for habits, opportunity, purpose, and experience. And this little acrostic reminds us that hope does actually is a light at the end of the tunnel for anything, but it's not just hope for the sake of hope, it's hope with a plan. So if you have hope with a plan and you can say, look, my habits are every day I'm going to learn a little bit of AI, and instead of thinking about it by memorizing tools or tips, I'm going to think about it like riding a bike. I'm going to think about it like a capability. And opportunities, well, what opportunities now exist because of AI that didn't exist last year that I can now do? And I'd say a great example is your podcast. Even this platform, Riverside, has some great AI features. I've seen this platform evolve from last year to getting better. I also see things like 11 Labs, where my entire book is read by a bot, so I don't have to rent a studio. You don't have to rent a studio. We can go out and create because we have these AI tools. Now, there's no you bot, right? So there's no way we're going to duplicate you and your authentic humanness. And so we need you, right? And so every person has a purpose. Every person has some experience they can offer the world. And the question is, do they see that? And if they don't see that, then they need to come and talk to me or participate in the Hope AI Tour. What we do is we do community groups and we figure out what problem can you solve? Because all jobs are about solving problems.
Thank you so much for sharing that.
Yes.
So, what does it take to move a company faster towards revenue when you're working with exponential technologies?
Yeah, that's also a really good question. So, revenue, if we go back to why entrepreneur, I have a product that people want, and I can sell it, and I can sell it more for than what it costs me to make it. Boom, there you go. So when we think about AI, there's a lot of companies that actually, listen, I think almost everything can be improved by AI, but not everything. And so if you're a company, I take them through this process. It's a 15 question process. And if you score really under 10, you're going to have a hard time affecting an AI strategy quickly, because AI only really gets us to our outcome faster. It doesn't make up for bad data. It doesn't make up for bad habits. It doesn't make up for bad products. It doesn't make up for bad CEOs, bad employees, or bad, if your business is dysfunctional, trying to accelerate AI, add AI to speed it up, it's not going to work. So you've got to have a good, a good system. Now, that said, is there are opportunistic people, and anytime that there's a major disruption, usually there is chaos, and when there is chaos, there's opportunity, and this is when we see criminals. This is when we see bad actors, and so I think bad actors are really where the most innovation needs to happen, and that happens through digital identity. So even, if we go back to 2017 at the peak of crypto, based on blockchain, of course, when you see all these transitions taking place, is that there's a lot of bad, what I would say, actors because of the chaos of people not really understanding the technology. So a very long answer to say, if you're doing business for good and you're really focused on your goal and you have your information in a place and you can do automations, because that's all AI is really. I mean, agentic AI is, autonomous automations. But, if you're doing that well, then you should have every right to be able to innovate and to do well. So I hope that answered the question.
I did, thank you. You mentioned you had a background in journalism. So I know a lot of the times when we read news or we see it on TV, they have some biased opinion that shows through the words they're using or their tone. So how do you maintain a balanced perspective when you discuss subjects like tech or polarizing?
Oh, I love that. Man, that's literally the best question ever. Wow. You are a great journalist. Well, I think this is the $1 billion question. And, even when there were only 3 news stations and, there was left, right, and then we have to be so cautious politically about the terms that we use. For my own company, and the reason why I think I've been successful in my career in all size companies is because starting out as a journalist, a lot of folks don't know that journalists take oaths, just like doctors. And the oath basically says is that I'll do everything in my power, that my limited human power, to be able to write an objective story. I'll ask both sides the question. I'll try and fully understand it. I'll not use sensational language, and I'll try my best to portray a balanced story. Well, ever since social media has really taken over really the news feeds, we're in a competition for the most clicks, the most eyeballs, the most attention. And that means you have to really resort to clickbait headlines. It also means is that influencers, last I checked, didn't take an oath. And so I think in industry-wide, it would be, actually this would be a great company, we should go start this company together, is could we certify social media influencers so that they take an oath to say, listen, yes, of course we understand when in some ways we have to cater to an algorithm if we want our podcast or if we want our channel to do well, but the reality is that it's almost impossible to do that. And we even know that just from like SEO and search engine terms. It's like, how do you get in the middle of a trend so you can get, to latch on to visibility? And so I can't speak for the state that we're in. And I do think it is a distressing state. We're in a distressed state of news. But at the same time, we're in this democratized state, just like you and your podcast. You're here because you can, and I believe good finds good. And so we'll hope that favorable algorithms go your way when you go to push your content out. But, the bottom line, number one thing is we could only, I believe businesses really are going to do their best work even in the absence of social media. And that's kind of a big thing to say, because I'm saying, hey, you don't have to be on social media. Well, I'm on social media a lot. But honestly, I don't believe it's core to my business. I really don't. Because what's core to my business is relationships with people. Like your dad's company and many other people's company that are respectable, that say, hey, when I worked with Cheryl, we worked with FindGood.tech, we got a good product, she did what she said, or she at least communicated, and it goes back to trust. And if you want to build a good business, You have to have proof that someone can buy it. And so you have to do that on trust. And that doesn't always happen on social media. So to me, real revenue happens in community, and it happens with people that actually you're solving their problems. And, it kind of meandered from the core question of, how do you not have bias and reporting and so forth. But bottom line is like, just offer a good service to people that really need your service. And that's why I call my company FindGood.tech, because I really am everything we ever learned in kindergarten still holds true today. Don't hit people, don't bite people, don't make a mess, clean up after yourself, be on time, and try not to scream too much, and maybe take a nap. Just be a cool person, just be a good person, and most things will go your way. Don't talk poorly about others, don't exaggerate, tell the truth. And I think most people really want to do that. So.
Well, thank you so much, Cheryl, for the advice and the answer. Well, you were telling me about your podcast, so could you share a bit more about it?
Yes, so it is called Mind the Machine. And this it's been around for, let's see, not very long, November of last year. When I worked with Qualcomm, I actually, Dr. Erwin Jacobs was the CEO. And for a very short window of time, and then he moved to be the chairman of the board. And I always had such admiration for him. So I had reached out to him and asked him for an interview as part of Startup San Diego. I'm the vice chair of Startup San Diego. And he said yes, and I was delighted. And I thought, wow, if you have the opportunity to have a conversation with someone like Dr. Erwin Jacobs, you don't just want to record it and throw it up on YouTube. You want to be intentional, and you want to try and repeat it. And so I had such positive response from that interview that I went on to interview Rodney Brooks, Dr. Rodney Brooks, who's invented the iRobot, which is the Roomba, is the #1 consumer robotics in the world. And now not every week, but almost, I'd say 2 to 3 times a month, I drop a podcast with innovators who I believe are doing really good things. Now, I tend to over-index on AI, but it's not about AI specifically. What it's really about, it's about that our mind it's not perfect, right? And so when we think about AI being developed in 1956, at the very first conference that AI, there was an attempt. It was 10 guys. And they're like, oh, we're going to build this brain, this computer, and we're going to make it basically a brain. Well, you have broken humans trying to build a broken brain, which resulted into 70 years later, the AI that we have today that we're still trying to fix, right? So our broken brains have built this. So there's this combination in between our human condition and our mechanized world. And yes, many problems can be solved, but not all problems. So that confluence of hardware and carbon life matter, somewhere we need to come to solutions to be able to talk about how to build better businesses with the best tools and with the best people. So it all comes back to kind of that FindGood.tech. But, my interviews are, they're deep questions, just like your questions. Your questions are really good. They're really thoughtful.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I mean, you're going to have a great career. I mean, you already have a great career. What am I talking about? This is a great podcast. So dreams with a Z. But, people aren't going to live forever. So it's almost like you're documenting time stamping a point in time, the way people are thinking, and I think that's a real art form, and I don't think everyone's good at it. So I certainly enjoy it, and for a new show, I think it's doing all right. And there'll be lots of coverage coming out from the show I'm at now, which is the Tech Expo in Santa Clara, and it's 2 days of AI conversations with all kinds of folks. So I hope you subscribe.
Well, thank you so much, Cheryl. I think this is a good place to end this. So, do you have any final thoughts or advice?
No, I would definitely say what you're doing is really important, and I can't imagine that you have a whole lot of free time. And I imagine that it might probably feel risky, right? And I'd say that's how you know you're on the right track, is because you're pushing forward. And what better way to be able to connect with people, and to build relationships and to start that trust, which is the essence of all business. So good for you for doing what you're doing, and thank you for inviting me to be on your show.
Well, thank you so much, Cheryl. I've really enjoyed and learned a lot from our conversation, so thank you.
Okay, thank you.